And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live event here at CON KASTERBOROUS here, June 10th to the 11th in Huntsville, Alabama. We are live virtually, and we are going to be discussing Big Finish for the panelists over there. Everybody give a round of applause. Let's hear you out there, out the audience. Woo!
Woo!
Woo! Just still getting this stuff together. That's fine. No worries there. My name is Christian Basel. I'm the host of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Thank you for coming. Let me go ahead and take the banner down because this is going to be commercial free, so we're going to be real quick. But as you can see on the banner, we are going to be talking Big Finish, and we're going to be It's going to be hosted by Matthew KRESAL, who's over at CON KASTERBOROUS right now. So Matthew, let me go ahead and take the banner down, and you're going to be in this seat for once.
Yes.
So take it away, guys, and on with the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew KRESAL. I'm one of the con chairs here at CON KASTERBOROUS, and I am also a Big Finish fan since 2007. Big Finish, for those who don't know, is the company who, since 1999, have been producing licensed Doctor Who audio dramas. And we're here today to talk about our favorites, some places to start, and why you should give these things your time and money. I'm joined here at the con live by
Nick Smith. I've been listening to Big Finish before it was called Big Finish, and I am obsessed with it. I listen to it when I'm brushing my teeth. I listen to it before I go to sleep at night. And
there's a visual.
I listen to it while I'm doing other things.
Yes,
but especially driving. It's great to listen to on long journeys.
So I guess that's a good place to start. So you mentioned you were listening to Big Finish before they were Big Finish. So you must have started with the audio visuals then back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Correct, yeah. And if I'd known back then how they were being made, I would have tried to have got involved. It was, fans they loved Doctor Who. They wanted to tell audio stories. It was unofficial. Nick Briggs was a big part of it. But really, they just volunteered their time. They started off with low production values, but it got very slick very quickly. And also, I loved the way they told the stories. You never knew if a companion would survive. You didn't know whether the Doctor would make mistakes or save the day. And they just told rocking good stories that served as a foundation for Big Finish. We'd get them on cassette tapes, and I would order them through the mail. And I'd stick them in my car and listen to them on my way between Edinburgh and Glasgow and back.
And so actually the very first, I think it's like the first 5 or 6 Big Finish audios, when they officially got the Doctor Who license at the end of the 90s, were released on cassette as well. And those things have become collector's items now, more so than the CDs. I think the last time I saw one on eBay, it was going for a couple $100. So, yeah. Well, what would Doctor Who fandom be without obsessive collecting, though? So I didn't get into them until 2007. And it's funny because I actually got into them through one of their official BBC co-productions, because they did the audio portion of the Shadow webcast. And I got into Doctor Who my senior year of high school. I was on the yearbook staff. Yeah. Oh, all the CDs. Oh, wow. Well, some of the CDs, because you can fill a warehouse.
A bit of a little obsession? Big obsession? Okay.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, but I was on the yearbook staff. So one of the things I would do is I would listen to the Shadow webcast while I was putting together my high school yearbook. So, but what about, I'm sort of interested in the story from you, Christian, and also Melanie. How did y'all get into Big Finish?
You want to take it, Melanie, or you want me to take it first?
Sorry, I'm on mute. You can go first.
I can go. Okay.
Yes.
Funny you should ask, because I've already got the CD in hand over here. My very first Big Finish was the Holy Terror, right there.
Yes,
right. It's written by my favorite Doctor Who writer, Rob Sherman. He also wrote, if anybody's familiar with it, Dalek for the Ninth Doctor, which was the return of the Daleks from the Time War, and the first appearance of the Daleks since the continuation. I'm trying to avoid the word the reboot, but I just love this one because if you ever heard or spoken to Rob Sherman and seen him perform on stage, like doing one of his storytellings, it's exactly the way it does. And it starts off with a comedic Monty Python skit, pretty much. I just love it. I wish I could play the audio, and I actually play the audio for people over at conventions and stuff. The first part of it, where I won't spoil it too much, but somebody is in jail right now, and he is told that if you do not, I forgot it's been Pippin. I think it was Pippin.
Yes.
Do not do you honor the current king right now? And the person's told, yes, of course I would honor the current king. Well, it's blasphemy because the king is dead. His immortal son is now taken over the throne. So unless you honor him, you will be killed. And he goes, that's it. I just got to honor him. that's all I have to do. And they say yes. And they actually give him like sign right here and sign right here. And he changes. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll just honor the new king. And that was the end of it. But that's typical Rob Sherman. And yeah, I started with the Holy Terror. Also, if you don't notice, but one of my favorite companions, Frobisher.
Yes.
The ship-shifting penguin. There's a term for him if you guys know, or if you want to put it in the chats. I forgot what mesomorph or something. I think that's what
something like that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, all hail the great talking bird.
All hail the great talking bird there. And you should stay
That's
for the
actually
ending
how
too.
Bob Sherman, I met him in Chicago a few years ago and got him to sign it. That's actually how he signed it, was all hail the great talking bird.
Oh, I have a signed one from him that's Scherzo, which is my other favorite, is the one that he was told you have to write your own universe, and only Charlie, who the Eighth Doctor and the Eighth Doctor's companion, had a big old fight. So imagine just having the biggest fight with like ladies, imagine having the biggest fight with your husband to the point that you really want to kill him, and then you end up killing him, and you both end up in a new universe. And not only that, but the laws of physics and everything in this universe do not apply. So you are in this bizarre world with somebody that you basically told you're a jerk. So I kind of exactly. Frobisher is a whippoorwill. Thank you so much. And yep, that is the story. But I've got plenty of more. But that's my gateway drug into Big Finish, and it hasn't stopped.
All right. So I guess we can ask Melanie now. Melanie, how did you get into Big Finish?
For me, it was I started going to a lot of different various conventions, and I saw other Doctor Who podcasts and stuff like that. And I think actually this kind of dovetails a little bit into meeting Christian. And a lot of times I would see like the audios like on tables and all the CDs and all that kind of fun stuff, and not realizing that that was another, avenue to listen to Doctor Who, to get more Doctor Who content. So there would be like little grab bags and stuff of, excess ones. I'm like, all right, well, $5-10, whatever the price was, it was okay. I'll take the mystery bag. And I think it ended up being like a 10th Doctor one, because somebody that I happened to be knowing that worked the booth did a mystery bag, but he put an audio in there that he knew that I would probably get hooked on. And I believe it was Technophobia, because it was later on that I got into it. So I got into that, and I was like, oh, well, this is really cool. So I started listening to 10th Doctor, and then just started listening all the way, kind of started going back just to getting whatever ones I could borrow and all that fun. But the best part I liked about it is that they have an app. So
yeah.
Yes.
And with the app, you can purchase, there's a lot of them on there that you can purchase. You can buy them online, you can buy them directly through the app. But some of them, they'll be either free, or they'll be ones that they'll be like $1.99. So you can go in there, and I mean, it's an easy kind of gateway drug where you're like, well, for $1.99, I'm getting, how many dozens of hours of entertainment, depending on some of them. You're getting $1.99 on something old, where it's like a 4-part series of something. You're getting a lot. And to Nick's point before of that, you can listen to them anywhere. They were really good for me at the time. I was I was still working just as a graphic designer, and a lot of that is putting your headphones in and working. Or if you're doing a commute, put it on and get going. So again, it's good to have it in disc form, but now with the app, you can easily take it anywhere you want. And depending if you're most everything's Bluetooth connected, most your headsets now aren't going to be wired. You can listen to them anywhere. So, and there's just so much you can listen to if you're more of a new Who fan. And like for me, I got into Doctor Who more or less in New Who. I remembered it as a kid when with the 4th Doctor and watching with my dad. But New Who's where I really started. I started like kind of going, you know what, maybe I will listen to like the Sixth Doctor. And you find out that really a lot of these stories, especially in Big Finish, it gives when it gives like the Eighth Doctor, that's where he lives. The Eighth Doctor lives in Big Finish. He has a TV movie. He lives in Big Finish. But you got more meteor stories and everything for the 5, definitely for 6, for 7. You're getting all these amazing stories there. And to me, that kind of got me into listening to the Sixth Doctor, listening to Colin Baker, and some of the companions. I think a lot of them get built, they there's a retribution kind of thing to it, where you're like, they're not really my favorite Doctor, because maybe not, you didn't like watching it like in the 70s or 80s, and you're like, it's not my cup of tea. The Big Finish does them justice, and then you can go back and go at least learn more of the physical nuances, so it can get that visualization in your brain to go, oh, this is how they're acting it out and all that fun stuff. So highly recommend.
Speaking of stories that were never like cup of tea, that actually finally got their ending the way that they should have. Here it is, The Last Adventure with the Colin Baker, and that's the one where everybody remember when he was just hit on the head of the console of the TARDIS when he was flopping around out there. Now we've got a redemption arc where Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor finally gets a very long closure to his story.
Yeah, and tying in with recent news in the Doctor Who world, Bonnie Langford as Mel has had a whole renaissance on Big Finish, and a lot of what I suspect the excitement has actually come out of the fact that she's going, as we now know, going to be appearing soon on screen again. A lot of that excitement, I think, has come out of people getting to hear her in Big Finish and realizing, give Bonnie Langford a script. My God, she will act her socks off.
That's right. She's great in the Unbound story for Big Finish, where the Valiard wins. He beats the Doctor. So what happens next? And Elle becomes embroiled in that, and really she kind of takes on the Doctor role to try and improve the situation. I'll put it that way without spoiling anything.
He just started a wonderful audio. I highly recommend it. And I see we have Mackenzie in the house as well, so I guess I'll pass the question to you as well. How did you get into Big Finish?
Well, I started back in 2015, so I'm kind of probably the newer person here in the group of starting in Doctor Who in the audio. I actually started with Doom Collusion. And interesting enough is the Eighth Doctor, for those who have never listened to Big Finish, the Eighth Doctor, I mean, we had the movie version, but he shines on Big Finish. And if there ever was a spinoff, they could pull so many stories from Big Finish and actually make several series or seasons out of that. And so there's so much on there, going with what Melanie said there in regards to there's lots of free items that you can list on the app. I know Spotify also has a bunch of actually Eighth Doctor stories from Big Finish that Big Finish has put on Spotify for fans to listen to, so that you can get into it. It actually starts with his very first stories of when he first after the movie, so you kind of can go right into that to get into it. The one that I actually really got into, which was this one here. It was a special. It's basically this special anniversary edition of for fans. But we had the 50th anniversary on the show. Well, Big Finish had their version, The Light at the End, and this one really gives you all of the classic Doctors all mixed in, where the TARDIS is crashing into something, and they're stuck in this kind of time loop, and they're trying to figure out how in the world are they going to get everything. And going off of the comment about Bonnie Langford and also the character of Perry here, those are two characters I absolutely hated on TV.
Yes, me too.
Bonnie, I could all remember she was the girl that screamed all the time. And Perry, I didn't like her because right off the bat, I didn't like her because I am a Fifth Doctor. He's my Doctor. So when I kind of associated Perry with the Fifth Doctor's doom, so I didn't like her from the start because she's the reason that he had to regenerate. But Big Finish completely makes up and makes them so that they are likable, that they are enjoyable, and I really love Bonnie Langford on Big Finish. So if they can bring that from that character to how she'll be on TV now, I will love it.
Hopefully
only-
that's what they'll do. I mean, Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat have both said they're huge Big Finish fans. Russell T Davies, in fact, wrote the foreword to their book about the first 50 main range audios way back in 2003. And actually, going back to what you were saying, Mackenzie, if your public library here in the U.S. Is part of the network for Hoopla, there is a ton of Big Finish audios that you can check out free through Hoopla digitally from your local public library.
Interesting.
So-
I didn't know that. So that's cool. Cool
Yeah.
fun fact.
We can actually, I only discovered it because the library here in Huntsville, the system here actually is part of Hoopla. And I was on there one day just out of curiosity and went, holy crap.
They're all here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just to
we're
let
all-
people know, we're not part of Big Finish. We're not selling the product, anything. We're just showing our love because there's a couple things that we can attest to now in Big Finish. As long as Doctor Who's been running for 60 years, Big Finish Audio has more audio dramatizations than there are episodes of Doctor Who Prime.
Yep.
Could you imagine? And the Explorer, for those of you who are not familiar with Big Finish is audio dramatization that started back with Nick Briggs, the man who does the voices of all the monsters, including the Daleks, when the show went into its wilderness years, and he finally got the rights and wrote the, I think it was the Sirens of Time was the first episode, with 3 doctors, the seventh, the sixth, and the fifth Doctor.
Right.
Wasn't that really great? I heard it, but it was just nice to hear a multi-doctor with those 3 doctors in play. And now, gosh, I mean, Jenny has her own series. The Paternoster Gang have their own series. We were talking about spinoffs earlier yesterday, and now here they are. They do actually have their spinoffs. Practically everybody who, and then some. So, like the character now that we're going to be seeing in the 60th anniversary, Beep the Meep, originally started in the comic and they got fleshed out in Big Finish, and now he's making his way to the show Prime. So go figure on that. It's if they're steeping into that universe, which I was hoping that those 3 showrunners would have done, Moffat, Chibnall, and Russell T, went in there and just played with it and just said, you have the sandbox.
Yeah.
Pull somebody out of there and just like, let's see where they go. What would Charlie look like on TV Prime there? The 8th Doctor having his own series. Well, now he's got more episodes than practically the 7th or the 4th Doctor now.
And on the flip side, to kind of mention like that with the 8th Doctor saying the 8th Doctor really lives here, we now have more 9 episodes. So here we've always wanted more 9. We wanted more 9. Then Eccleston kind of starts doing the Comic-Con circuit, and that's where he's even said he's started talking to other doctors, and them kind of placing the bug in his ear of saying, "Hey, you should really listen to Big Finish. These guys know what they're doing, and they'll take care of you." And we've got more 9. We've got more 9. We've got amazing 9 stories too, and it's Eccleston.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, he's fantastic on audio, if I'm allowed to say that.
Mhm.
I mean, he is really kind of. It's like it's Saturday night in 2005 all over again, and he's just slipped on the leather jacket again.
Yeah, we've also had the War Doctor. We've got Derek Jacobi doing more Master stories. So, all these great actors are getting involved, and we're just getting to hear more of them, which is lovely.
David Warner is the Unbound Doctor. I mean, I often tell people, if you're not worried about canon, Sympathy for the Devil, which was the Unbound story they introduced him in, it's been a decade now, 20 years now. It's still one of the best things Big Finish has ever done. And it's a great sort of gateway into it to kind of get the kind of storytelling you can do on audio and the production values. And it's got a remarkable cast. I mean, Warner's in there as the Doctor, Nicholas Courtney playing a version of the Brigadier. A certain Mr. David Tennant is in it playing the most irascible unit colonel. And Mark Gatiss basically doing Mycroft's Sherlock as the Master. It's just a fantastic story for people who've never heard it.
Yeah, great to hear different takes in that series, but still going down to the core of what Doctor Who's about, standing up to bullying, acceptance, many other themes.
Yeah.
But, the fans care about those themes, but they just take the characters in different directions.
Yeah.
And I give New Who people a little rub every now and then, because I say Jodie wasn't the first female Doctor. I keep rubbing in their faces because I do have the proof that she's not, because Annabelle Weir was the first female Doctor in one of those Unbound series called Exile. and Nick Briggs is in it. He wrote the story, and we actually interviewed him about that. And he was a little taken aback because he was like, he didn't really like the story that he wrote for her. And I kind of told him, listen, it was your first attempt. We knew what you were doing. It was comedy. Not only that, but you can also hear a rising actor named David Tennant, who actually premieres in this as a Time Lord going after the Doctor. And Annabelle plays a alternate third Doctor.
Yep.
And I didn't realize he actually explained why there was the sex change. Was when a Time Lord offs themselves, that's when they change their sex. So I thought that was an interesting take. And I didn't know if they were going to do that in the series Prime because it was explained here. But again, this is alternate. It's not.
Well, it's unbound.
It's unbound.
The chains of canon do not apply.
Right. It asks the questions, what if, and they would ask, what if, and David Warner being a doctor, good grief. I wish he was show Prime, but hey.
Well, he crossed over kind of sort of into the Prime universe eventually with Bernice Summerfield and their audios and the whole running series with her.
Well, he was in Cold War.
Yeah.
Cold War.
As well, yeah. And the most recent box set they did hit with him before he passed away is absolutely amazing. And so it's him and Bernice Summerfield in 1930s Germany with Cybermen. And it is every bit as dark and as devastating and brilliant as you expect it to be.
And I think he's supposed to be in the 60th anniversary as well. He managed to record something before he passed.
Yeah, we from what Christopher Eccleston revealed at a convention last year, apparently him and Warner are going to be in one of the Once and Future audios together at some point. We don't know which one yet because Big Finish are keeping it all under wraps.
Well, now they are because it is a special episode now. It is.
Yeah.
And those two acting titans together, even if it's on audio, it's just like, okay, I'm with you.
One comment I wanted to make also was to Mackenzie's, pointing it the correct way, when she was talking about Bonnie Langford, when we were talking about how a lot of doctors get their, retribution, a ton of companions really do too, because I want to just echo what Mackenzie says, like, Bonnie Langford's character, Mel Bush, was a computer scientist. She was supposed to be a computer programmer in the 80s. So she was supposed to be, on paper, this is an extremely intelligent woman. She's very analytical. She's extremely smart, but yet all we got was a running around, screaming femme, just, she was the damsel in distress. Yeah. And that's all we got. And now we get to see her, or at least listen to her, be that get more really getting into into her character and getting really into the nitty gritty and the meat of it. And you get to have a lot of that more with those characters. And you're not only just seeing one specific companion with their doctor. In Big Finish, they mix and match a lot too. So you'll get the companions that maybe they were with the 5th Doctor, and now they're with the 6th Doctor, or they're with the 7th, and now they get to have a chance with the 8th. So it's a lot of fun, where it's almost like Big Finish had like this big gigantic kind of roulette wheel and went, you know what? Who do we want in this story? Okay, well, let's pick a different person at random. And then they write an incredible story too. So it's not just like this little bingo card that they're just going to be like, let's just churn something out. They're like, let's churn something amazing out. Oh, Jago,
Lightfoot, and Strax. One of the funniest audios you will ever hear, and that's completely companions. Companions from the 4th Doctor, from the Talons of Wing Chang, and of course Strax from the 11th Doctor series. But Strax accidentally ends up with Jago and Lightfoot to solve a mystery, and of course, you know how those three are. So just to put them together is phenomenal. It's
and
really
Dan Starkey, you will see him a lot in Big Finish. You will hear his voice and all the range of characters he can do.
The man's got some range, it has to be said. There's been times he's been in audios and I haven't realized it's him because I'm so used to hearing him play Strax, and suddenly go, wait, that was Dan Starkey?
So we thought afterwards to look at the credits. I wait till after because, sometimes a character pops up near the end of the story.
Yeah.
But then I check, who's done the voices, and there are always surprises in there, like Dan Starkey.
Yeah.
Or they'll have somebody recycle. Like if somebody has one line, they're not going to bring in somebody to read a line. They'll have one of the other characters. So like, I think there was one 8th Doctor audio that Paul is like 4 different people. And some of the people you can distinctly go, wait, that sounds like Paul. And then you'll see, other voices done by the cast or something like that. It's like,
and Katie Manning's another case of that. She's played a whole host of characters for Big Finish.
Irish Wild Time.
Yeah, Irish Wild Time. She popped up in Dracula, in their Dracula adaptation with Mark Gatiss. She popped up in the recent Second Doctor Beyond War Games set as well, playing a completely different character, and you'd almost not know it was her. So, I mean, there's a lot of very talented people kind of behind the mics and also in front of them as well.
I wanted to mention the Companion Chronicles.
Yes.
Which are doctorless, but they really give the companions a chance to breathe. We find out what happens to some of them after the Doctor leaves, or they leave the Doctor. We have Zoe trying to deal with her memory loss. Imagine having a photographic memory, and then you get a piece of your memory taken away. She's very conflicted. And yeah, a lot of the companions, at least for a one-off audio, get a chance to really strut their chops.
Yeah, we've been talking about Nicola Bryant, Perry and the Piscon Paradox. That thing is an emotional roller coaster and a real showcase for Nicola Bryant. I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed now to kind of think I'd never really thought much of her as an actress. And then I heard that and I'm like, again, if you don't give people good material to work with, they're not going to be able to showcase it. I think that's so much the case, particularly with the 80s TV companions.
So they have more experience now. A lot of them, it was their first job, or they were young when they played a companion. Now they have a bit more life experience. Yeah,
and you get people who were fantastic on screen. William Russell is Ian. I mean, his Companion Chronicles. I mean, if William Russell is doing an audio, it's worth listening to. Just for his narration and often the writing as well. I mean, The Rocket Men is one of my favorites. It's one of those I recommend to people because it's very much the prototypical First Doctor story. I mean, it's space pirates and jetpacks. But the way John Dorney writes that story and the way it's done, it's such a modern way of telling a Doctor Who story. And it's got the most brilliant cliffhanger. And that cliffhanger only works as well as it does because of the way the story is told.
Yeah.
One thing I wouldn't say we haven't failed to mention, we just haven't tapped into, but spin-offs.
Yes.
We never got into. And this was my very first spin-off. I think this is the very first Torchwood episode, Fall to Earth. And
that's the second one. They did one with John Barrett.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Conspiracy was this one.
Yeah, I think.
I am nerd. Hear me, boy.
Yes, here's the. I could have sworn this was second. I thought this one was John's first, but I could be wrong. But hey, we can show John. He's here. He's on TV, and then we'll got this.
Yep.
But this one is still my favorite Torchwood. It's the simplistic most Torchwood. I'm just going to say this. It's essentially Ianto wakes up on a space plane, and it's coming to crash to Earth, and the only saving grace he has is a woman on a phone selling him insurance. That's the whole premise of this story. And it works.
Hilarious.
It's hilarious, and it does what Torchwood does and does what Doctor Who does. At the very beginning, you are crying because you are laughing at everything that's going on at the moment. And then when you realize you're in Torchwood and Torchwood starts kicking in, you're crying because of the sad things that are going on at that moment. But I just thought it was a great premise that somebody just mentioned. Yeah, he's on a space plane and it's crashing down, and insurance lady's sailing. That's saving him. That's the only premise of the story. And I was like, got to hear it. And I highly recommend that episode, which is called Fall to Earth.
Yeah, I haven't heard them, but I do know that with Russell T. Davies' blessing, now Big Finish is doing the official continuation from the TV show now. I think there's a fifth and a sixth season of it now that they've been doing as well, sort of picking up from post Miracle Day and running from there. But the standalone ones, the monthly kind of what they call their main range, which is Fall to Earth is part of. I mean, it's a showcase, not just for the TV cast as we've known them, but really expanding the Torchwood universe, for lack of a better way of doing it, because there's a whole run of stories with Queen Victoria set after the founding of it and her being involved with them. And there's some absolutely dark and devastating ones in there,
but also lots of humor as well. So it's a great balance.
There's a great one. I think it's the Victorian age, which is her and Captain Jack, and she comes to do an inspection, and all hell breaks loose. And it's Captain Jack and Queen Victoria trying to clean up the mess.
And if I could take a moment to speak to Russell T. Davies, because this has not been addressed. It's not one of my favorites, believe it or not. I hadn't all go through because I wasn't liking where the story was going. But how about 3 Ramanas in one story? And this is the audio version. Not only that, but it has Juliet Landau as the 3rd Ramana from Big Finish. She actually becomes Lord President of Gallifrey, and from what we understand from the Time War. But wouldn't it be great to bring Romana back, and not only that, maybe have a 4th Romana, or even have Juliet come back on the screen proper and have her become, the president that lost Gallifrey. How did she survive? If she survived, what's her story? I mean, that story alone, I think, is an incredible find. And not only that, but to have like the 3 Romanas somehow come back in some form or fashion, I think that would be awesome if they don't even do a 4th. And also, not only a 3rd Romana, but a 2nd Ronnie.
Yes.
I can't. Yeah, it is. Siobhan Redmond, who plays the 2nd incarnation of the Ronnie. She does a very good job of that.
That's very good casting. Because
Yeah.
Kate O'Mara passed away just before they were going to record, and they had to do a slight rewrite and a big recast right beforehand. So
She did an audio spin. She did an audio spin-off herself. It's rarely heard, and I found it on YouTube by accident. I found the whole story broken up, but it's called "The Ronnie Reaps the Whirlwind." No doctor, no nothing. It's just the Ronnie, and she's in a position. She's forced into a position where she has to help somebody. So if you can imagine that kind of story where the Ronnie's going like, "I want to kill you, but I can't," kind of deal. That's something I think would be great there. But gentlemen, what about you two? Did you give us your gateway drugs to Big Finish?
I think I missed something.
Yeah. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, sure. Did you give your stories how you got into Big Finish as far as what your Oh yeah, you did.
I think we did that at the beginning, but yeah. I know the first one I ever bought proper was Zagreus, which was their big 40th anniversary story. And I was on a multi-doctor kick. It's sort of the beginning of my Doctor Who fandom. And multi-doctor stories are on TV anyways, are usually celebrations and very easily accessible. Not this one. My memory of listening to Zagreus was to paraphrase its co-writer Gary Russell talking about something else. Was I'm listening to Zagreus. I have no earthly idea what's going on,
Thanks,
but isn't it fantastic?
Yeah, you have to listen to the story before really to understand what's happening.
Well, they tried to do like a 6-minute recap of it at the beginning of it, and I still had. It wasn't I think the last time I listened to it was about 4 or 5 years ago. And I feel like I've just now gotten a handle on what that story is actually supposed to be about.
It's a really tough cookie to crack out there, but I do have the after story, which is Scherzo.
Yeah. The funny thing about that is having heard Bob Sherman talk about it at Chicago TARDIS is they hadn't written Zagreus when he had to write that one because of the way the recording schedules were going.
Oh,
he made that
fantastic.
He signed it.
So he was basically told, you have to go write the aftermath of something we haven't written yet. Good luck. Yeah,
well, from what I understand, he was told that you have to create a universe. It's not in the laws of our universe. So time does not run the same. And that's one of the things I'm not going to give too much away. But the Doctor's no longer a Time Lord because there's no time.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist in that reality, and that's where Charlie and the Doctor have to figure out how to get together. Sorry, that busts a little bit about the spoiler for how Zagreus ends, but yeah, this was his story. It's Rob Sherman, and I'm only going to say this once because I yelled at him for this. There are jump scares, so don't be playing this with the volume up in the car.
Yeah,
there are jump scares. I was not into, and I was actually driving. One of the jump scares got me, and I literally ran off the road because it was like that. I had the volume up that loud. Yes, I'm not kidding.
I had that happen with Night Thoughts, which is the 7th Doctor audio. Yeah. And I did my early years of Big Finish listening were at a job where I worked 2nd and 3rd shift, and I would often listen to them 3rd shift there like midnight to 5 o'clock in the morning. And I made the mistake of listening to that one at work completely by myself in the middle of the night while working. I genuinely have never been as creeped out as I was from that experience.
Creepy vibes.
It is. But some of the other stuff that they've done, I mean, they've done a lot of odds and ends and stuff over the years and pieces of Doctor Who history that they've now helped preserve. The stage plays from the 60s,
Yes.
60s, 70s, and 80s that, only existed in fan lore, and the memories of the handful of people who got to see them have now been preserved on audio for us to enjoy in all their glory. I mean, Curse of the Daleks, the very first stage play, which didn't even have the Doctor in it. It was basically the first big Doctor Who spinoff.
With Michael Praed doing the main character.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic listen. If you can imagine Agatha Christie writing a Dalek story.
Agatha Dalek.
Agatha Dalek. That's a good title.
Dalek.
There you go.
But also the Lost Stories as well, where they've done a lot of the stuff that was originally written for, or at least conceived for TV, but they weren't able to get produced. Like Colin's entire season that was scrapped when the show went on hiatus in 85 and was replaced by Trial of the Time Lord. We now have all those stories. We have Masters of Luxor, which was the first Doctor story that the Daleks originally replaced back in 1963.
It's a real eye-opener, yeah. Farewell, Great Macedon.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that on the
Doctor
early years panel yesterday. A great first Doctor historical with them meeting Alexander the Great.
Did you say Trial of a Time Lord?
And that's a wonderful...
All I'm going to say is this. If you love Trial of a Time Lord, this one is something you need to listen. It is a must too. And to give you the premise of the story, first of all, it's only the three characters. It's only Colin, Linda Bellingham, rest her soul, and Michael Jason, who will live forever. I think he's, and I hope he lives forever too. The three people in the court, and I think there's I think they had one other person who did the. I won't go into the spoilers, but there was one other person in there. But could you imagine in this particular story, the Trial of the Valyard, it opens so funny too, because the Doctor's recalled back to the courtroom and Colin just puts on this audio performance. It's just like, nope, I'm not coming out. I did this once. I'm not going out. And then all of a sudden he goes, okay, I got out of my TARDIS, but I'm not coming into that room. I'm just letting you know I'm not going to participate. And then he runs into the courtroom. And then halfway through it, he doesn't realize, but he's going like, yeah, we're not here for you.
Yep.
You're here to defend the Valyard.
Yeah.
And that's where the premise of the story goes on. And he's like, what? He's going, yeah, go ahead, knock him off. I don't care.
But fun fact, Michael Jason has also not only has played the Valyard, who's a version of the Doctor, he's actually played James Bond on audio as well.
And he plays the War Master or something like that.
That's Derek Jacobi, who's the War Master.
No. I think didn't something happen, or he plays something like I know Colin plays the War Doctor in certain audios, but I know Michael comes back and he plays something. I think
there's not in those, but in one of the Time War box sets with Paul McGann, he comes back as the War Valyard, as sort of a version of the Valyard.
Yeah, the War Valyard. I was like, yeah.
I know, having met Michael at another convention, he's very proud of that, and the fact that particularly how they wrote that one, and also his performance in that, as he should be.
There's a lot of creativity in these audios, and although they have a formula, and a lot of it kind of sticks to a Doctor saves the day kind of formula, it really inspires me just to hear them creating these stories month by month. And coming up with different ideas, trying different things, because they can. They're not blowing a TV budget on doing a show about Rose and the Dimension Canon, and bringing her mum back, and just having fun with all the different ideas that they can play with. Yeah,
the Dimension Canon spin-off as well. We were talking about spin-offs, which is the story of Rose going from parallel universe to parallel universe, trying to find the Doctor. There it is. So that's the first episode, part of the first episode from this most recent, the second set they did with that. It's the story of her trying to find the 10th Doctor and going from parallel Earth to parallel Earth. And there's some fascinating, alternate universe, alternate history stuff in there. It's fantastic as well, and also giving not that she didn't ever have the chance to shine on TV, of course, but to actually get to watch Rose get to play the lead and really get to play the Doctor in some respects.
Right, and I wanted to pull this up just to show that this is all free stuff that you can at least get excerpts of. And again, many of the original cast is lending their voices to the audio, and if they're not an original cast member, they've been vetted out and are some of the most fantastic actors that really embody the actual essence of the character, not necessarily doing an impersonation of them. So like a Tim Treloar, he does an amazing third Doctor. It's not that he's coming in doing this impersonation of Sean Pertwee as the third. He really is getting the nuances. He's getting those the vocal inflections of the third Doctor. So you're getting that kind of that's what they're bringing to the table. And even then it's something where when you have him playing against Katie Manning, you're hearing the third Doctor, and you're hearing, you're hearing Joe. That's who that you fall into these episodes, and they're just absolutely amazing. And again, it's you're getting more of what you wanted to hear. You want to hear more about somebody.
Yeah.
Like I said, they have a lot of stuff that's for free. This is just me clicking on the freebie area. So, look, more Martha Jones. You wanted that there's not enough Martha Jones in there? Well, here's Freema. She's bringing back more Martha.
And not only that, but they have a Star Trek crossover with Myrna Sirtis in there. So she's a supporting cast in there. And the War Doctor's in there.
And Big Finish does more than just Doctor Who, as we can see scrolling through here. There's a Sherlock Holmes range with Nicholas Briggs playing Sherlock Holmes, which is fantastic. If you're a fan of Holmes, yes, I actually gave a copy of that away at a panel yesterday.
Oh, really?
So I hope the person who got it enjoys it very much.
They will.
So The Human Frontier, which is on screen at the moment, that's actually an original science fiction series that Nicholas Briggs has created. Has a lot of the people involved with Big Finish either acting in it or behind the scenes.
What was the Eva Miles series that they did?
I can't think of what. I can't think of what that was called now, but it is. Alex Kingston's in a psychological thriller called
Shilling and Sixpence is another.
Yes, sort of a
more original,
right?
Based on a series of theatrical productions.
Yep. And Star Cops. Star Cops is one of the great hidden gems of British sci-fi TV. It was in the mid '80s. It ran for 9 weeks at the height of summer. And it's basically a detective series in space in the near future. So it's basically near future sci-fi in a detective setting. It didn't find an audience then. By Jove, it's
the audience.
Yeah. Well, if I'd been alive, I would have been the audience.
Like one guy.
But they have continued it on audio. They've now done 6 box sets and 2 audiobooks. There's now more audio episodes than there were TV episodes.
And it's deserving. They choose properties that have some intellectual stimulation. They have great ideas. They had good actors involved. So they're able to kind of bring it back in an audio format.
Yep.
Here. So
and I see Dark Seasons there. This was originally Russell T Davies' first ever TV show back in the 90s. And they've actually resurrected on audio. And this was one of Kate Winslet's first acting jobs. She's in the audio. An Oscar-nominated actress is working for Big Finish. I mean, this is the kind of talent that they bring in across all of these properties. It's not just Doctor Who, but it's even the seemingly obscure.
Well, John Hurt did some audios before he passed, unfortunately. Yeah. So we got some kudos on that one.
Me highlighting the audiobook section.
Yeah, that's just
and you can see here, you see you can be inundated with how many things you could click on. But here on the left-hand side, you see Doctor Who, the classic series, and it's just, that's the first Doctor, second Doctor. They've broken it out this way, but look at everything else that they have. Yeah. Or if you just want to go to collections, there's such a depth and just a wealth of stuff that you can just jump into and listen. This wealth of like entertainment that you can just go in here and have fun. And even then, it's like at the beginning, if I went to their homepage, we can always give you as many where to start, gateway drug kind of things as well. Yeah. But I know even one of these little kind of slides here has another one where it's like, click on here and we'll give you where to start.
I think at this point, in 2016, I made the decision. I gave up trying to listen to absolutely everything because it was that way led to madness and bankruptcy. But what I tell people to do these days is whatever your particular interest is in Doctor Who, whether it's classic Who or modern Who, and for that matter, very particular doctors, pick a place and start. Go to the beginning of their audios, particularly with Paul McGann. Go back and start really kind of from the beginning of those and work your way forward. With a lot of the doctors, you can just jump in at any point. It's like the show in that regard. And if you don't like one particular audio, go listen to another, because whatever the spectrum of Doctor Who is, much like the weather, if you don't like it right now, wait 5 minutes and it'll be something else. Whatever your taste in Doctor Who is, whether you like it dark and serious, whether you like it comedic, fast paced, quiet and thoughtful, there is a Big Finish story for you somewhere out there.
And not only that, Melanie, if you go all the way up to the top, there's a search bar in the upper right-hand corner. If you just want to hear stories about Adric, type in Adric, and they will pull up all the stories, that Matthew Waterhouse is either involved in. And I think there's one story that takes place post his demise on the spaceship, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't heard that audio yet, but
The Boy That Time Forgot, which is it's an interesting listen. I'll put it that way.
He's pissed. He's very pissed.
And you can search by actor, even, because as Melanie may notice as you're scrolling, you may be able to see cast members' names there, or if you click on a release, you can certainly do that. And you can click on a cast member's name and it will show you everything that they've been in. So if you're a fan of a particular character or of a particular doctor, that's probably the way to go. There you go. And that's, and Ben and somebody else who, I think Fandom has rubbish, but, listening to him in Big Finish, not just in Doctor Who, but also Dark Shadows and some of the other ranges, somebody else who's got quite a bit of range to it that I think Fandom is underrated.
And speaking of audios that you can listen to and spin-offs, tying this into the 60th anniversary, we have a whole series with Donna Noble, so you can catch up on Donna Noble and figure out what was she doing after she left the show temporarily here, and how this all fits in.
And there's no limit too. We can have the Fourth Doctor visit the Paternoster gang.
Yeah, we
can have and any companion can now meet any doctor. Nick, you were talking about experiments, and I haven't put this up over yet, but you can keep running there. You Are the Doctor. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's a fun one.
For people who I just want to let you know, warning, especially if you download the episode, it is not what you think. It's not like you can listen to this episode from beginning to end and get a story. Yeah. If you remember way back when in when I grew up in school, and they may still have it now, the Choose Your Own Adventures. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, this is a CD too. So it would actually say, if you want to do A, jump to track 8. If you want to do B, jump to track 9. So I think it's hard to do that maybe on the app. If you get the CD, you can do, and have a CD player, you can actually play along. But yeah, you are the Doctor, you are the Seventh Doctor, and you make choices in the place of the Doctor. And
it is.
Yeah, it was one of the great experiments, but unfortunately, time does get with it with the new tech that's going out there. Maybe they'll figure out a way to you can play the game and play the stories without it sounding weird.
They experiment with things like that. I think Flip Flop is a story where you can listen to side 1 or side 2, or you can listen to side 2 and then side 1, and it still makes sense.
Yeah. It just
I was always one of those kids when I had the Choose Your Adventure book. I would put my finger. It says go to page 3 if you make this decision. Go to page 5 if you make this decision. I'll put my finger on page 5. Read page 3 and see how that's done.
Yeah, we've got just a couple of minutes left here, so I just want to sort of go through and try and get everybody's kind of final thoughts on Big Finish, and I guess make a pitch to the audience that we have here in the room, and indeed watching us here online. If why should you listen to Big Finish? If you haven't been convinced by everything we've said so far, what's your pitch to get people to go and hear Big Finish?
Many times you'll find a character, you'll find a story, you'll find something that you want more of, and you won't get it, whether it's because of budget, because the show's already either off the air, or they've just already ran their arc, but you just kind of you wish you had more of that. And if you either you go into fan fiction, that kind of thing, you can write, you can read, that kind of fun stuff. But here you're getting maybe that actor, you're getting it more on even a more polished professional level. This is where you can go ahead and get that fix, see if that character has has more life to them. or at least the entertainment value of it. So you can, I mean, and again, you can look at it for free and find it. So that's where I would say, if there's somebody in Doctor Who or even anywhere else, you can have to find out that Big Finish does it. You wanted more Rose Tyler, you wanted more of the Dimension canon kind of stuff, they have it. More Donna Noble, they have it. More Justice for Martha, they have it. So go, that's where I'm like, yay, Martha. So give it a try. And then again, the worst you can lose is free.
Yeah.
You're not going to even lose money on it.
Right. Okay,
What
so you
about-
wanted to?
Yeah, it's like for me is I take the perspective of fixing something. So like for example, Colin Baker. I was not really a big fan of Colin Baker's Doctor on TV. He is my Doctor totally in Big Finish. Big Finish finds a way that they will fix a character and make it believable and make it so that they shine. Unlike somewhere in TV where some, for whatever reason, either the writers or whatever it is, they fell short. And this helps to redeem those characters or redeem those Doctors that may not have had that moment to be like the Time Lord, the God Time Lord.
Nice.
All right. What about you, Christian?
I'd say you have no excuse. There's so much. If you wanted a character, if you wanted to get more of the Paternoster gang, if you wanted to get more of Jenny, if you wanted to know more, there's a whole expanded universe that goes beyond the TV show. And I like I said, yeah, you don't want to become me, just eventually now that they have apps, but I usually get signatures and stuff from the celebrities.
I've got shelves and shelves full of them.
Yeah, but I can't protect them. Like almost every one of them's got like a little crack in the CD, so I got to replace the CD. But your adventure is not over because the show ended. You can start this adventure now, and like I said, we're not sponsoring it, but yeah, you can go to bigfinish.com. You can download the app for free, and you can get a free download. And if you don't like what you hear, delete the download, go to the next one, and pick it up. But I usually recommend, if we're talking about a gateway drug, if you liked a character, if you liked a Doctor, people got into Big Finish because David Tennant went into Big Finish, and then followed by Billy Piper and Donna and Catherine Tate. People went into Big Finish because their favorite character, like Jenny, who only had was a one-off. We haven't seen her lately, but now she's got a series in Big Finish. And when people are looking now at like things like Beat the Meat coming over into the TV series, now you have a gateway to go over, hey, there's an audio actually called The Ratings War. And you can find out more about, what Beat the Meat is and what he has to bring. If you can find the comic book, good luck.
They've adapted that first story as an audio with Tom Baker, incidentally.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, you're right. They did. But there's so much to explore. And the thing is, when it comes to Doctor Who, you are never going to be done. And there's still audio kicking out to this day. And it is just conquering over the Time Lord himself. And if you like the Eighth Doctor, you got stories lined up for you. And that just seems to never end. And if you've ever been one of those, it's like, what would happen if the Second Doctor met the Ninth Doctor or something like that? Now there's products and things that are going to be coming out so that you can have that fantasy played out. And the good thing about these is not an audio reading. They're not reading paragraphs out of a book and their scripts. It immerses you in the world. And I even tell people, play this in the dark, or play this while you're driving somewhere, because you'll forget that you had driven 3 hours somewhere listening to these audios, because they just immerse you into their world. It's almost like watching the TV show just with your eyes closed. You can hear the audio dramatization. You can hear the acting. It is just gorgeous. And I'm actually shocked, like series like Star Wars and Star Trek never really got into this. Yeah. But now it's just a phenomenon in our Whoniverse, and I'm very proud that we've gone here.
Yeah. What about you, Nick?
If you're a creative person, and you probably are, it's a great way to encourage your creativity. The Paul Spragg Memorial Award every year, Big Finish has, encourages listeners to write their own script, submit it, and get that possibility of getting the script made into an audio.
Yeah.
And also it encourages me, I was listening to all these great voices, and I'm like, okay, I want to do this. I found an audio drama called The Scarab Archives, and I'm doing multiple voices for that. So I never would have even thought about acting in an audio drama if I hadn't listened to Big Finish and thought, hey, I want to try this. This sounds like fun. These actors are obviously having a great time, and like really got my creative juices flowing.
Yeah, and picking kind of up on what you were saying, you know, Classic Who is often sort of rubbished a bit for its effects, and Modern Who has had its successes and failures. The pictures are always going to be better in your head when you're given the cue, we're given performances and sound effects and whatnot, and you get to imagine the pictures yourself. So the pictures, ironically, are better on audio.
Oh, sure. Driving to work and having a huge Dalek battle going on in my car. I'm transported into space somewhere. Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh, that was you on I-95 the other day. That explains everything now. Well, let me go ahead and take the hosting duties because we want to thank everybody at Con Kasterboroughs. We want to thank Matthew. We definitely want to give kudos to Bonnie Kasterboroughs. I said it. Nick Smith.
Kasterboroughs.
Who's on it? Kasterboroughs.
We will kastab you, Christian.
I will stab you.
Kasterboroughs.
Kasterboroughs. Con Kasterboroughs.
Remember the importance of sticky notes.
Okay, we only got a few minutes left. So we want to thank everybody at the convention for bringing us in. And I'm hoping that I would love to see a regeneration. But if this is the end run, what a terrific end run. What a way to end things. You guys got John Barrowman over there still. If you are in the area and you're looking for something to do, they still got a few more hours. Go over there, check them out. Come on in there, check out the vendors, check out the cosplay, and definitely see John Barrowman. And of course, our good friend Kelly Yates. He should be out there.
Poor Kelly.
He should be out there.
Poor Kelly.
And John Peel, who is an author, he's actually going to be on a future episode coming up on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Everybody, please stay safe out there. You guys, thank you for joining us. Con Kasterboroughs, thank you so much. We will hopefully we will see your regeneration. But in the meantime, have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for joining us. And Tony, you know the drill. Take us out.